Well, since I am Moses, and I, with the help of God, brought the Israelites, the Jewish people, out of the land of Egypt with the 10 Commandments in my hand, and if you look carefully and see my picture, my sculpture here carrying the 10 Commandments, I'm a humble person. I shouldn't expect my name to be in the Haggadah. So it's not in the traditional Haggadah. But you know whose name is in the traditional Haggadah? Elijah the prophet. Moses wasn't, but Elijah was. And Elijah comes to every single one of our Seders. And I think, I have a feeling, because I, Moses, have these spiritual feelings, I think he's coming here at this moment, right through the door. Eliyahu Hanavi, Eliyahu Atishbi, my good friend Elijah the prophet, it's good to see you. Welcome to the Seder.
Moses, it's wonderful to be here. I've heard so much about you.
We've been friends.
You think wandering in the desert for 40 years is hard? Try all throughout time visiting every house and on Pesach of every Jewish home. It's good to be with all of you, but I've been with all of you before every single Pesach. It's good to be with all of you. Now, we're going to get this Pesach Seder started. Are you ready? Yeah. Oh, that didn't sound good. Let's get this Pesach Seder started, right?
Yeah!
So is there a Seder like our Seder? No. I think there's no Seder like our Seder.
I had it working this morning.
I think you have to turn it on in the other room.
No, it was on.
It's on.
It's on, yeah. So.
I don't hear anything.
Welcome you all to the Seder. Well, the next thing that we have to do, you know, our teachers are a lot like lights. They kindle the souls and the spirits of all of our students. All of you are kindled by our teachers. Now together we're going to join in and we are going to sing the blessing over the candles. And now these candles were made, these candlesticks were made by the first grade. They're made by the first grade and they're beautiful. And we're going to light these candles just like we would on Seder night.
Remember, everybody, that the last two words won't be Shabbat, but will be the words Yom Tov. Can you say them? All right, ready? Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav b'mitzvotav. Tzivanu v'tzivanu lahadlik ner. Tzivanu v'tzivanu lahadlik ner. Tzivanu v'tzivanu lahadlik ner. Shel Yom Tov.
Now on each of your tables is a beautiful Seder plate. And you can see the Seder plate here. And some of these Seder plates were also made by our K-5 students, the ones that are on your tables as well as the one that's on the head table. And I heard that there was some question before there was some question before about what the Seder plate is. And we have a great group of kids who put together a wonderful project, a video, on what the Seder plate is. Your fingers and put it in the air. Take a finger and look at your Seder plate, and if you would point to the matzah, which isn't on your plate but it's nearby. And if you would point to the charoset, what about the maror? Take your finger and point at the maror. And the zaroa, point to the shekos. That's only on the center. And the karpas, the green. And the pizza, the egg. And the salt water, which will be beside the plate. And most importantly, who can point to my cup? Kos Eliyahu, Elijah's cup. It's up there. And now we are also going to do a special Kiddush, and I'm going to invite Moses to come forward, because Moses, after 40 years wandering in the desert, I know that you're probably thirsty for something special.
And these beautiful cups and the drawings of the Kiddush cups done by first and second grade. That was really fantastic. Here's one example, and there are more to come and look around the table. 4 times during the Seder do we lift the cup in order to thank God for sweetness, because the fruit of the vine, wine or grape juice or apple juice, allows us to thank God for happiness and being together and being free and celebrating our Judaism. So do you want to join me in the blessing over the wine, over the fruits of the vine? Everyone pick up their cups. Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. L'chaim, everyone. L'chaim, to life. And you can drink a little bit. Every time we come to a happy occasion, and this is a happy occasion, we're together, we're thinking about Pesach, we sing Shehechianu. Thank you, God, for bringing us to this day.
Together, Baruch atah.
Now, what do we do before we need to eat? One of the things we always do. Anybody know? Especially if you're wandering in the desert and your hands are dirty, what would you do? Yeah, you'd wash your hands. Now, normally we'd have a basin and we would fill it with water and we'd wash our hands, but instead what we have at your table are moist towelettes. See, because we're in the future. And in the future we have moist towelettes, so if you would all take out a towelette and wash your hands. If you look outside and you see a white blanket of snow, underneath all of that snow, life is beginning to stir. Because spring is coming. And Pesach reminds us of the cycle of life and that spring is coming once again. So who can point at something green and right in front of them? Right. We have parsley that was planted on Tu B'Shvat by all of your classes. And that parsley has grown to be beautiful and we're able to use it today for our blessing. Now, the parsley represents that new life. And if you turn in your Haggadah, you turn into your Haggadah to the page with the hands, Karpas, now it's time to remember that it was springtime when the Passover story took place. As we dip our greens in the salt water, we remember the tears of our ancestors in the land of Egypt. And if you can find the blessing on this page. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei peri ha'adamah. Blessed are you, Lord our God, ruler of the universe, who creates the fruit of the earth. Now if you take the parsley, dip it in the salt water, and you can eat it.
How's the parsley taste? Okay, everyone, we're on the next part of the Seder. After we eat parsley, we turn our attention to the matzah. How many pieces of matzah do I have here with me? 1, 2, 3. There's always like a napkin or a matzah cover inside our 3 pieces of matzah, and we take the center piece out and we hold the matzah up before everybody to see, and we break the matzah in 2 like this. And we say this: this is the bread of affliction, hard times, which our ancestors ate in the land of Egypt. Let everyone who is hungry come to our Seder. Let everyone who is in need come to our Seder. We're going to hide one of the pieces of the matzah so that at the very end people will look for the afikomen. We come together and it's put together. We're going to do that today too. But this means that people have hard times, and we try to put the pieces of people's hard lives back together again. That's what Yakat is.
We're going to put them online. You'll be able to, because of the quality.
Thank you, first grade, for making this wonderful matzah cover.
Not yet.
So on the video, we're going to sing a song. Cantor's going to lead us. Isn't Cantor Miriam beautiful? Look how wonderful she looks. That's Cantor Miriam Berman.
Well, we have to get this section started, and we thought it'd be a really great idea to get it started with song. We've all been practicing those 4 questions for you each to be able to do it at your own Seders. Can you do it really loudly here? We begin.
than 4 questions, like, what are these pillows doing here that the second graders helped make for us? Was it because when we worked hard in Egypt, we weren't able to recline and be comfortable, but now we are? Maybe that's the answer. Does anybody have any other questions? Any other questions? Because you know, 4 questions is the minimum amount of questions that you do in the Seder. You're supposed to ask more than 4. Who's got a question that they'd like to ask? Okay, all the way in the back. Let's go. All right, let me hear what your question is.
Can I start the video of Take
We're in any minute because we're telling the story, and one of the parts of the story is us leaving Egypt.
Are there really only 10 plagues?
Are there really only 10 plagues? There were 10 plagues that hit Egypt, but there are other plagues that we have today, but some of them are related. You know, like the plague of darkness. The darkness of that plague was what happened when brother could not see brother, or sister could not see sister. And they didn't understand what the other was experiencing, and that plague is still around today. So yes. Why is there a tree right there? That's a good question, and we're going to explain it a little bit later in the Seder. That's a very good question. One more question.
How many days do we celebrate Pesach?
How many days do we celebrate Pesach? Good question. Some people celebrate Pesach for 8 whole days, and some people celebrate Pesach for 7 days. It depends on what your family custom is. All right, these were great questions. Let's move on to singing a wonderful song known as Avadim Hayinu on page 10. We were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, but God brought us out to freedom with a strong hand and an outstretched arm, and so we tell this great story every year.
Sing Avadim Hayinu.
And now Roger Karp's class is going to come forward, our 6th graders, who are going to teach us about the 4 different types of children that we might find at a Seder. And there are a number of different types of children that you find at a Seder, just like there are a number of different children you find in your class. And so they're on their way up right now.
Every year at our Seder table, we have 4 kinds of children with different qualities. All of us probably fit one of those kinds of personalities. We have the wicked, we have the wise, we have the simple, and we have one who is not ready to ask. So our 6th grade, my class, Mr. Carr's class, we have prepared. We have a poster, and we will be explaining this to you. We will start with the wicked, who is Alec Durzon.
The wicked child said, "What does the Sedar mean to you?" By stating to you, this child implies that he has no feeling or belonging to the Jewish people. To this child we say, join us tonight. Be fully here and listen closely. Be with us, let us celebrate the Sedar together.
Thank you, Alec. Then we have the wise child. That's Ari Glassstein.
The wise child says, "I want to know the meaning of all these rules." This child is proud to be Jewish and is interested in sharing experiences that are important to Jews. We answer this child by teaching all the rules of Passover. We talk with this child about the nature of freedom and justice and about the need to make this world a better place.
Thank you, Ari. We have the simple child, and even though she is reading for the simple child, Caroline Snyder is one of our very, very best students, one of our leaders, so here she is.
The simple child questions, "Matzo, what is this night all about?" We say we are remembering a long time ago in another land when we were forced to work for other people as slaves. With a mighty arm, God made us free people, and we must celebrate our freedom. Growing older, learning about our people, and observing the Seder, this child will come to love Passover and appreciate its beauty and its message.
Thanks, Caroline. And finally, we have a child who does not even think to question, and Andrew Smith will be explaining that child for us.
With the child who does not think to question, we must take the initiative with patience and tenderness, we say. This wondrous evening happens in the spring of each year, so we may remember that out of death, sorrow, and slavery came life, joy, and freedom.
So even though we all need to learn more, we all may feel simple at times, we all might not even know what to ask, our goal as students, and that's students whether we're young or whether we're older, is we want to become like the wise child. We want to learn more and more about Pesach and about being Jewish. So thank you so much.
Now we're very lucky to have a first-hand account of what happened in Egypt. Moses, can you tell us all about it?
I'd like to, but I'd like to point out these pictures. I'm going to walk over there. You might not know that all of these paintings on this wall tell the story of Passover, the story of Pesach. And even though we won't have time to look at them all today, whenever you're in here, the Clearfield Social Hall, and you want to see some of the pictures about what we've been talking about, they're all right here. This is what happened to me, Moses, when I was born. Here is a picture of a woman who is holding up a basket. You see it? I mean, some people might have a hard time seeing it. I won't spend a lot of time. And there's a beautiful woman here. I wonder who that was. See, I was in this little basket because the mean Pharaoh of Egypt said all baby boys were to be thrown into the river Nile. He was afraid that we boys would grow up, become men, and fight against Egypt. So he did this horrible, horrible, horrible thing. And my mom, she really loved me. her name was Yocheved. And she said to my sister Miriam, who's right over there, "Thank you, Miriam, for saving me. You have been a wonderful sister." When I was a baby, Miriam and my mom put me in this basket. And here is Miriam. The way Miriam looked when she was, 13 or 14 years old, so pretty much the way Miriam looks today. And she swam out into the river, and she saw the Pharaoh's daughter, who was a queen. And she held me up in the basket, and she said, "This is a Hebrew baby, a Jewish baby. Would you like to take care of that baby? Would you like to bring that baby into your palace and take care of him?" And Pharaoh's daughter said, "Oh yes, I love babies. We're going to help babies." So I was brought into the Pharaoh's palace, his daughter's palace, and I grew up as a prince in Egypt. And one day, I defended a Jewish man out in the fields who was being beaten up. And I pushed the Egyptian guard. And I knew I was going to get in trouble for doing that. So I had to run away. And I ran out into the desert where I saw a bush burning, but it wasn't burned up. And it caught my attention, and I thought, this is what I'm seeing. A bush is burning, but I've got to turn away. It's so bright in my eyes, I can hardly look at it. And I heard the voice of God saying to me, "Moses, Moses," 2 times. And I looked and I said, "Speak, God, I think it's you." And God said, "I want you to go back to Egypt. Don't be afraid. And I want you to go to the king of Egypt, the Pharaoh, and say, 'Let my people go.'" So I got up the strength, and I did. And I said to Pharaoh, "If you don't let the people go, that bad things are going to happen. Plagues, darkness, locust, the slaying of the firstborn. You have to do what's right, Pharaoh. Let our people be free."
And all the while, the people of Israel were moaning and groaning under slavery. And they became so upset, they sang this very song. Well, maybe we sing it today. And maybe you can all join in singing, Take Us Out of Egypt. And what is a lot of fun at the Sedar, but really, we're thinking about the things that happened in the past and the sadness that we felt at watching these plagues descend upon Egypt. Now, we're so lucky to have 10 plagues that have been put together by some of our classes. And so here at the bottom, and you can take your finger, as I explained them, take your finger one more time, very important. And I want you, as we go through the plagues, to dip your finger in your juice, because we lessen our cup of joy whenever we think of the plagues that befell on the Egyptians. Even though they tried to enslave us, we don't want to be too happy. We have dam, which is blood, Svardea, which are frogs, and we've got a great frog project made by our K4 and K5 students. They've got their frogs hopping at their table. We have kinim. Hopefully we have no examples here today of kinim, of lice. And we have arov, beasts, wild beasts, and dever, diseases, like shachin, diseases, barad, hail, We have Arbe, locusts. We have Choshech, darkness. And we have the death of the firstborn as the last and final plague. Now, we have a great plague rap that was taught to some of our kids, and we're going to watch the plague rap. Shown here by the 4th graders, and as a paper mache Torah, we ended up by the Sea of Reeds, the Reed Sea, where Moses parted his hands, and through a miracle from God, the Israelites passed through the Sea of Reeds. And this is beautifully shown by grade 4 in their beautiful illustration of what it was like to have been there. After, we sang Micha Mocha, which we sing every single Shabbat and as part of our prayer service at the other side. And once we passed through the other side of the sea, we received the 10 Commandments and the Torah, which is shown here as well. And then after that, we were permitted, after 40 years of wandering, to enter to the land of Israel. Now all of this would have been enough. One thing after the other would have been absolutely enough. And the way we say to God, it would have been enough that you had done such great things for us. And each time we had a miracle, we sing Dayenu. And Hannah is going to lead us in Dayenu. Page 15. That was wonderful. And if you look on page 15, it said, had God brought us out of Egypt and not divided the sea for us, what do we say? Dayenu. Divided the sea and not permitted us to cross on dry land, what do we say? Dayenu. And let us cross on dry land and not sustained us for 40 years in the desert. Dayenu. And God did all these things. He sustained us for 40 years in the desert and did not feed us with manna. Dayenu. And He fed us with manna and not given us the Sabbath. Dayenu. Given us the Sabbath and not brought us to Mount Sinai. Dayenu. Brought us out of Mount Sinai and not given us the Torah. Dayenu. Given us the Torah and not led us out of the land of Israel. Dayenu. Led us to the land of Israel, not built for us the temple. Dayenu. Built for us the temple and not sent us prophets of truth. Dayenu. Sent us prophets of truth and not made us a holy people. Dayenu. For all this alone and together we say, Dayenu. But we know that in every generation each of us must see ourselves as if we personally had come out of Egypt. And let's sing the whole Dor Vador together.
You sing, again, Change the world, you must believe in your own exodus from Egypt.
That was absolutely lovely. Now we are going to drink. And now we are going to do the second cup of wine. This is, as the second cup of wine is significant because it reminds us of the second promise that God made to us, which was, I will deliver you from bondage. If you'll lift your glasses and say the blessing with me. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei periat haofen. Amen. And now, we are going to just describe a few things on the table. We're going to use it using this hand. If you would point to the Paschal offering, the Pesach, the Passover offering that's on the table. The Passover offering reminds us that when God had slain the firstborn of every Egyptian family, God passed over all the Jewish homes. We raised up our symbol of the Pesach offering to remind us always to be grateful to God. And now we are going to say the blessings over Motzi Matzah. In the first blessing, we thank God for the food we eat. If you would look at the matzah and get ready to have a little bite, we thank God for the food we eat. And the second blessing relates to the special mitzvah of eating matzah on Passover. Now, if everyone would point to the maror, and let's say the blessing together. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al achilat maror. And if you would take a little bit of maror, place it on a little piece of matzah. Take a very little bit, because you know what else people say every Seder? They say, "Oh, that is so spicy. That is more spicy than it was last year." So take some more. So let's all be quiet for 1 second. Remember your pleases and your. So when we are talking to God and God has given us a wonderful meal, and so have the people who have put this together, all the parents and teachers and students who helped make the wonderful matzah bride, we say, Baruch atah Adonai hazan et hakol. And we do that together. And maybe we can wait before cleaning up the tables until after the Seder is concluded. We're almost done. And let's lift up Elijah's cup and Miriam's cup as well. Miriam brought us through the desert in our wilderness by finding us spring water to drink. And we're grateful to Miriam. And we remember that wonderful miracle of finding the fresh water through the desert. And now we drink our fourth cup, the cup of redemption. And we say the blessing, Baruch atah. And now we drink one more cup again as we think about the possible redemption that will come with our entering into the